What are we doing in the Maka reactor?
Soldier, do not interrupt me when I'm giving an order.
Sorry.
Boy.
As I was saying,
okay.
what are we doing in the Maka reactor?
Oh,
No, no.
Jesus.
I have no idea what you're talking about, soldier.
Anyway, guys, my court-martial was recently completed.
How much did you get demoted?
Well, I was found guilty of minor acts of treason.
Like forging a signature to try and sabotage another member?
And while they acknowledged that my intentions were pure, it was still an act of treason, and I have been demoted from lieutenant to junior lieutenant.
Corporal?
No,
Alright,
junior. Junior lieutenant. That's just a little bit higher than corporal.
Uh-huh.
Is it in this part? I think so, yes, I'll get it. Yeah, another example of what I was talking about last part is gonna happen.
Oh, Jesus.
But I'll bring it up later.
The enemy literally jumped behind you.
Yeah.
Again,
Also,
that's the thing to remember. This is before I learned how the chainsaw works. Because remember, this was before I knew I had to hold the people.
No, I know, but the enemy is like spawned in the corridor where you just exited and started to attack you from behind. I think.
also, I have been ordered to clean Jova's bathroom for the next week.
See, the thing
Thank
is,
you, I really do need that.
Yes, Pedro.
See, the thing is, whenever I'm not equipping the Lancer, my melee attack is just a typical punch. You know, where you just press B to use it. So silly me, I thought using the chainsaw with the Lancer would just be a matter of pressing B as well. But no, it turns out you have to hold it and keep it holding. I just wish
I mean,
the game would tell me.
on paper, I could see the thought process is similar.
No, I do too. I just want the game to tell me.
Honestly, even without having a constant tutorial, having like just one prime example at the beginning, like cutscene situation that is equivalent to a QT, where enemy is charging, Marcus is charging as well, the game freezes for a second, it says press B repeatedly to activate the chainsaw. Oh, Jesus.
Whoa, yeah, you can definitely tell that this...
Well, it's not mechanical, but it is a giant spider.
You can
I remember this thing from one of the marketing, it kills Marcus at the end of the publicity where it appeared.
Yeah. It's a thing too. I mean, the tutorial of this game handled just fine. You know, you have these little messenger thingies, and you just press A to continue, and that's it. All they have to do was do a little. When I first get the Lancer, they just have to have a message popping up saying, "The Lancer has a chainsaw. Hold B to saw your enemies." And there you go. That's it. And just press A, move on. Like it would be such a simple thing, and they tutorialize everything else with messages like those. It's just a chainsaw that they apparently forgot. You'd think they would fix this in the Ultimate Edition, but no.
I always find it weird whenever games tutorialize most stuff, but then there's this one little thing that, you need to look up in the manual for. Like, yeah, you can tell that this was made back in the era where game manuals hadn't completely died out. In fact, they were still somewhat around.
Even so, Jova, even at the most basic, when you get stuff like one tiny page of a manual that it's depressing to look at, it still gives you a basic idea of the controls. So that is still something that is persistent to the day, unless it's something that doesn't have a manual to begin with.
I always just found it weird when they don't include that.
I can be a bit forgiving on the 2006 original release, because like Theo said, like Jova said, it's that time things were a bit. But this was a 2015 remaster. I mean, they could have very well fixed it.
Oh, cool! You can actually move the car as a cover.
Yeah, Marcus is pretty strong that way.
Well, remember, they all are. They're dude bros. They're super muscular, like a 90s comic book character.
They must think of creative ways to get exercise while in prison in Phoenix's case.
You know, it's kind of funny considering how these characters represent a more realistic take on the Rob Liefeld formula, while instead in the Darksiders series, with Joe Madureira as the leading artist for the concepts and everything, the characters look actually like the actual Image comic characters, complete with with unexplained proportions at all.
So yeah,
I mean-
because that
No.
enemy on the right has a turret, I recommend staying all the way in the back and shooting all the other mooks until he's the only one left. Because trying to go charge in will most likely result in your death, even in casual mode.
And I also noticed from previous sections with the turret that as soon as you tries to shoot him, he gets his attention towards you, and it's doesn't be able to shoot because of the cover
that's
of the
another.
turret.
Yeah, that's another thing. Instead of having a more sophisticated random AI about it, no, the turret people always shoot towards me. Even if I have all 5 members of my party in the field, he will always target me whenever I'm on his line of sight. Always me, even if there's someone in front of me or
No,
someone right
I
next to
mean,
me.
like in this case, look at that. He's targeting your people, but the moment that you start shooting at him, he's gonna turn towards you. In that kind
Yeah,
of sense.
the reason he's not shooting me right now is because I'm out of his line of shooting, obviously. But if I get there, he will immediately shoot me and only me. Quite
Well,
selective AI.
I guess he's a smart AI then. He knows that the leader protagonist
It
is
does
usually the most
remind me.
dangerous.
It kind of does remind me of the AI in the Terminator Salvation video game, where when you're supposed to defeat the spiders by getting behind them or anything, but they always turn around towards you. Jesus.
Again, like I said, yeah, this would be like me and Joe were talking about. This would be more acceptable in 2006, of course. But considering this is a 2015 remaster, the Coalition should have been able to, do some quality of life improvements to fix this kind of stuff.
That is part of the problem with remasters of sorts, although we've established that this is something in between a remake and a remaster, but it seems to border more on the remaster side, cutscenes aside.
Yeah.
Like, that
Because
sort of is the problem with
primary remake part
remasters.
is
More,
the cutscenes, yes.
more often than not, when it comes to remasters, people will touch up the looks of stuff, but never really the content, unless it's someone like Bluepoint Games who tend to go
And
above
even
and beyond.
and even then, when they wanted, like, remember, Shadow of the Colossus was kind of an exception, and the only reason why it stayed like the original, aside not controls, aside, but in terms of content adding stuff, was because Ueda essentially vetoed that.
From what I've been able to tell, the primary things that were remade from the ground up were the new character models and the cutscenes themselves. So the rest is remastered.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Franklin, yeah.
I love the banter in this game. This is part of the reason why the sequel's definitely improved. It's like, well, not only does there get to be more character, but the banter gets even better in later games.
Collectible.
New comic page. Alright. Alright. Let's boo 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 boo!
Considering what's happened to this series,
Someone is clearly not doing a good job at doing the laundry.
Considering what's happened to this series, I sadly have to say, I think it's a sign of just how much Microsoft has kind of fallen as a developer here and there. Like, well, stuff like this and Halo are like some of their bread and butter, stuff that could be gritty, but also could be cartoony in a sense. Not so much in, the look sense, but in the ability to have a good sense of humor or over-the-top action.
Well, the new games still have humor from what I've been able to tell. It's just that
not humor. Okay, the humor is not really as good though.
Is it really like bad in quality, or is it just a tonal shift? But whatever, like, I'll ask more.
Well, we'll get to those games.
Let's just say we'll get to it when we get to them. It's a lot easier to explain it when you're watching.
What was that line from Gimli Two Towers? You find more enjoyment in a cemetery.
Yeah, I think that was it.
So there you go. We've reached the settlement.
No news on the lady, man. I tell you if I heard anything.
Hmm.
Seeing me with you, all right? It's not good for business, man.
Give me that junk of yours.
Say what?
Not good for business,
Serious, we need it.
Sorry to hear y'all having problems, man, but I'm not giving you my ride, yo.
You owe me one. I'm calling in the favor.
Of course, the best friend who owes you one.
Anyone want a taco?
Or a hot dog.
All right, man, I'll do it. Yo, on one condition. They stay
What?
here, yo. As collateral. We can use the extra guns, man.
Done.
Alright then.
Fair trade.
They have no way of saying in a matter.
But sir, we need it for the war effort.
Shut up.
Yo, Santiago.
Plenty more where that came from anyway.
Now, man.
It's, half of humanity's
sure.
been wiped out.
Asshole.
Come on, we all know that you just want to hug and make up eventually.
Sure, maybe pigs will fly.
It's about as certain as a friend dying in one of these sort of stories.
All right, outpost.
Nice.
All right, so yeah, basically the resonator is somewhere in a gas station, so we need to get to it.
So where are we going, Franklin?
Taps gas station, corner F Street and 13.
Between here and there.
Well,
It just
yeah.
sounds like those
Need to
people
hit our
giving orders
checkpoints
in
for
a
some
movie.
ammo. The first one's by the river.
Oh, that's
So
the
if I
intention
was
of it.
your
Okay.
ass, I'd get my ass over there. You dig?
You know, actually, now that I'm
That's the
noticing,
thing. That's the thing, Jova. Like again, remember Microsoft. Going back to what your earlier point, Jova. That's the thing, Jova. Remember, Microsoft is very PC right now with their games, so obviously Gears has to be toned down. That's kind of.
actually, I have
It's
a
not
question.
just that though. It's just like, well, the humor feels
Hold on,
lowbrow
not really a
comparison to
question.
this one. Sorry, you were saying too.
More like a noticing thing, considering even some of the dungeons in the in the previous parts and everything. The game seems to would have benefited from a torch option. Like the classic options where you toggle, like pressing the left or right analog stick.
Let's just say there's going to be something akin to that. I think in this part, if I remember correctly.
Okay, guess we'll see.
But yeah, the weird thing about the later Gears of War games, Pedro, is like, well, it's not just that it's PC. It's like, well, it feels like the humor's not even really trying. Like, well, as in, like, it doesn't even want to try. And yeah, maybe
So
that.
Reddit here.
Yeah, so like.
Well, I haven't actually. Well, I haven't gotten around to them yet, so I'll have to wait and see.
That is a pretty.
Oh, never mind. Is it this one? No, never mind. It's not on this one. No. There's gonna be later one of those sections. Okay, notice how right now I'm setting cover on this one. Right now I'm pressing the shooting button. I'm trying to shoot. Yeah, it's here. This way. See, basically, for some reason, even though I can take cover here, I can't shoot. So I have to get. So I have to try and get here. See, and now I'm gonna get killed. Yeah. There you go. See, as you can see, it takes very few shots to kill you. See, my problem is, when I was earlier on the left side, notice how I was in a very good position, in a very good cover position on the left, right?
Mm-hmm.
So silly me, I thought I was gonna be able to press L2 and then R2 to shoot, but no, I wasn't able to. Basically, just take cover here.
Behind an oven.
Behind an open. Like, silly me. I mean, I thought I was gonna be able to just, do that because I've been able to do that in other doors previously in the game. What the hell happened there? Like, did they forget to code the covering controls for that specific door?
In general, it seems that some of the cover elements don't seem to be, some specific cover elements don't seem to be programmed with the idea that you're supposed to shoot from there.
And again, if this was an issue with the 2006 game, then they should have fixed it in this one.
Again, I feel like they should have made this more of a remake than just a remaster based off of this stuff.
Not necessarily, Joe, but all these fixes would be incredibly easy to do. There's no need for a remake.
Oh, I get that. What I'm saying is, like, well, the problem is, like, when the game industry gives a remaster, the way they tend to do remasters, unless it's Blue Point Games, is just, oh, make things look prettier and bam, that's it. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
polish performance.
yeah.
Usually.
When it comes to actually fixing problems, they only tend to do that in remakes. Like, well, I know that we technically could do more in remasters. Like I said, Blue Point Games are proof of that. The problem.
This is my
That's
first time
cool.
doing it.
And upon that day, Pedro learned the greatest use of the Lancer mechanic. But yeah, as I was saying,
Told me, but go ahead.
but yeah, as I was saying though, it's like, well, that's the problem with the games industry. It's like, well, the way they treat remasters is just literally a surface level fresh coat of paint, as opposed
To
to
the point where all the time that backfires because sometimes some developers are either rush time constrained, don't have access to the code, or a combination of the things, and the end result is a complete unplayable mess. Like, case in point, the Silent Hill HD collection.
I knew you were gonna mention
or
that.
even then, the at least the PS3 version, I think, version of the Zone of the Enders collection at launch, they to the point where Hexadrive to intervene with a huge patch to fix it.
Yeah. It's more so the
It's
game
rather-
industry's fault, though, Amigo, and that's part of the reason why fans these days ask more for remakes over remasters, because remasters, unfortunately, often get a lot less
Well,
effort
again,
put
Jova,
into them.
that ultimately depends on a lot of things in general, the quality of the game as it was on the original release, even
I
when
would
it
argue.
comes
Sorry.
to the controls and everything.
I would argue the Final Fantasy remasters have been pretty damn good. 12 had a great remaster, and the new boosters they've added to the PS1 remasters, they're pretty damn good. Like having the ability to turn off random encounters in Final Fantasy 9 is a godsend.
Well, like I said, stuff
True,
like that.
boy, seems to be taking the
Oh,
other
ha.
the other extreme in defeating the entire purpose of the game itself.
Oh, hey.
Well,
yeah.
Taylor, if you don't like it, don't turn it on.
Anyway,
True,
anyway,
but I suppose the game could have found a middle way.
anyway.
Kind of like Brave of the Fault, where you have a meter.
Yeah, like a tweaker in that kind of sense, fixing it up to a percentage or something.
I guess.
Anyway, as I was saying, well, like I said, stuff like, the Square Enix or the Blue Point games, those are more so the exception to the rule when it comes to how companies handle that. Now, like I said, I know what remasters are capable of. The problem is that the games industry doesn't know that remasters are capable of fixing those issues. That said, though, yeah, I won't lie, those Final Fantasy remasters are pretty neat.
They are. I'm just thinking if I think of another one.
My only issue with the Final Fantasy remasters is stuff like Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy IX, which seems to have
Well,
the
that's the problem,
of...
Java. Those are ports of the mobile versions which have the worst character sprite quality. I specify on that because I still retain the argument that it not compensate this, but confronting that the actual enemy sprites and the field sprites are actually way better as we were from the original.
yeah.
Wouldn't nine more accurately be character models?
Well, Dweebs, I was talking about in the sprite. Wait, what the fuck is going on?
Those are the Krill's too. They're mini little locust creatures who are afraid of light. However, they're basically like air piranhas. They'll eat you in a fucking second.
Oh, I'm more the fact that it became night in a second, like...
Well, Theo, we did say earlier that it would be dark soon, so...
True.
I know, but not that quickly, though, Chris.
Well, to be honest, this is not the conventional Earth, another planet, so for all we know, the transition is more, less smooth.
Not to mention, this game does not work with a day-night cycle, so obviously it's meant to always be nighttime in this specific part of the game anyway. It's part of the script.
Anyway.
But anyway, Dweebs,
Oh,
what I
I
was...
have to interrupt you here because check this out. There you go. See, I'm talking in the thing and I'm walking while doing it. Because that's normal, right?
How's it going, Baird?
Remember, I still have no idea what those things are, just like you two. Right now I know because I played for the whole thing. There you go.
Tell us all about that play again. And hey, number 83.
There you go.
Oh my god.
You were walking outside the path.
No, I'm not. It's not that. I assure you, it's
you were
not that.
supposed to follow Don.
No, but that's the thing too. Even if I did go with Dawn, he would still go for a Dark Ally, so I would be eaten anyway. See, the problem is, too, the game didn't tell me yet that those things are attacking the dark, and I'm supposed to stay in the light. You'll see, too. Now I know in advance. I'm just staying here.
How's it going, Baird?
And later on, too, then we're going to have this entire little scripted tutorial telling me that yeah, now I know. Thanks, you morons. Like, I just wish the game would this is kind of a little bad pacing part of the game. The game should have told me this in a more, or at the very least have the cutscene right now. But you'll see in a moment. Okay, it's one of those cases where it's the beginner's trap. Like you have to know in advance how the krill work, because like you two, I had no idea what those things are. So silly me, I thought during the scripted talking, I was safe. But anyway, here we go. Right now, I'm trying to be as careful as I can.
Step lightly now.
Even so, the enemy type looks more like what's it called? I don't know. Remember what the term specific is, but more like sort of a barrier. Like you cannot kill them. They're just there to essentially the equivalent of an invisible wall.
So there you go. That's what I'm supposed to. That's a faint tale. The rest of this chapter is just me constantly alternating between dark spots and light spots for the sake of trying to survive those guys. There you go. See, I'm running my second. And now the game is going. Is it now? I think. Yeah, it's right. It's right after this. Yeah, those three guys over there. They're the ones who are gonna teach me how krills work. I just wish they. Yeah. Now, right after I just figured it out myself.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Yeah, see, the game is actually giving you a tutorial in that kind of way.
It is. I just wish you would have told me. Would have given me
True,
this.
It's a bit weird.
Again, you can tell that this is the first game because they have this game definitely shows some early first installment weirdness.
By those guys teaching you, I thought you meant they were going to talk to you about it.
Well, there is one way to do it, but
Well,
some
yeah.
are just way more practical.
Usually with games like these who have a dreary post-apocalyptic atmosphere, they usually try to teach you the mechanics in a way that also serves the story and the tone. Like for example, recently Neil Druckmann had an interview about The Last of Us and how to teach the shooting controls. Remember that part of the bit where that guy who just got bitten but he's stuck under a stove and he can't move and he asks you to kill him because he doesn't want to turn. And that's the opportunity the game has to teach you how the shooting controls work, and at the same time it also helps to convey the dreary world that you live in. So it's the games like these teach you that stuff like in a way that also makes sense for the story. My issue is not that the way it teaches me, is when it teaches me, because my problem is that again, remember the reason I was walking without a care in the world is because I was in the middle, usually doing those parts where Marcus is just listening to control. Usually there's nothing happening, it's just, you can't even run during those parts, you can only walk, so I wasn't, little me, I didn't even know that how these krill work. I just wish the game would pace itself better in this regard. Maybe instead of having that particular bit be an interactive sequence, have the control call be a cutscene, and then we see the krill eat someone right in front of us, something like that. Again, you can tell that this was Epic Games' first major game of this nature because there are some aspects of it that show its age.
Anyway, Luis, what I was saying before was about just them obviously for the sprite-based titles. Obviously, for the polygon-based, it's a different story entirely.
Yeah, but you see, the reason Final Fantasy 9. Yeah, I was gonna do
Right, yeah, Final Fantasy 9. Yeah, that is the thing about Final Fantasy 9. It's actually the reverse. The character models are actually touched up very good.
As we know, Jova, that was more of an unfortunate effect more than anything.
Wasn't that fixed recently?
What about the
fans?
Unfortunately, honestly, I will take it. And again, the circumstances are that it was more, what's the term, nonchalance or negligence from the past Squaresoft, which wasn't thinking on the long run. So with today's thing, it's a bit of a weird case. I understand them, but it's still a shame at the same time. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, it's one of those things about Final Fantasy 9 is that the original 90s Night Square did archive the FMVs, which is why the new remaster has some very FMVs. However, the backgrounds, the pre-rendered backgrounds were not archived. They were so they're lost. So as a result, the developers who made the remaster had to import the backgrounds from the original PS1 disc and import them into the game instead of going back to the source, because there was no source now because
not even that. From what I remember, I think my friend who's contributed to the wiki talk, what they did for the original game was to take the actual background they had and resize them in a smaller format, which is kind of like what every one of us has done at some point with 2005 Paint, for example. It's a bit weird.
A question. How's the PS4 port of 9?
It's the same port that's on PC and Switch. It's the same thing.
Is there a bit of better controls, I suppose, in a sense that...
Really? I assume the controls just operate the same.
I mean, in terms of... Sorry, my bad. In terms of HUD, I think.
Yeah, the HUD was patched so that it doesn't look not like the mobile version. Instead, it looks like and the Switch version and Xbox version is a port of the PS4 version, so it also has that patch already included. No, it's one of those things too where. Well, see the thing. And if you check the Moguri mods page, they'll even tell you that those new backgrounds that the fans added, they're actually made by themselves. So they've made them from the ground up.
Yeah,
and
I
they've
think you
tried to
told
match
me
them.
in another run.
They've tried to make as much of a match as possible, and they look really good. They're very, very faithful, lovingly crafted creations. So it's really good. Problem is, the developers themselves probably didn't have the budget to do all of that.
Yeah.
Most likely. So
Unfortunately, again,
we'll go back
unfortunately,
into this.
sorry, go on. I'll tell you more later.
Go back
on
into
about
this. Yeah. You might have noticed how I'm shooting with some propane tanks. That's because this is basically the gimmick of this section. Basically, keep trying your best to create light sources so to keep the krill off of you.
And I'm also guessing that the enemy, their positions, some of them, not that one for example, but some of them are also positioned in a way that the enemy can potentially shoot it and create an explosion for you.
Fortunately, no.
Also, you're shooting a tire.
The locusts are very dumb, so...
There's that, I guess.
Alright.
So many convenient ovens. Is this what that was done way New Year's Eve?
Well, that's typical in cover-based shooters. You need
No,
cover set
I know.
pieces.
No, I know. It's kind of weird. But basically, since those are the remains of a city, small anecdote. In some parts of my country, particularly the south, there's this tradition at New Year's Eve. At least it was for a couple of decades until so many years ago. And don't ask me where this comes from because I have no idea. At New Year's Eve, there was this tradition. If you had to change an electrodomestic, something like if you had to change your dishwasher, for example, you took your old dishwasher and throw it out of the window in the street. Never mind the fact that someone was passing by under it. I have no idea what's the logic behind that. Maybe the
Hey,
logic
free
is
dishwasher.
out with the old, in with the new, or something. But still, what an environmental hazard.
Well, yeah, look at that. Free
It's
dishwasher
like
for
in Wally
somebody
Bear and the No Game,
below.
where the guys who throw bomb all day from buildings.
Is that where Tommy Wiseau got the inspiration for that final scene from The Room?
Alright.
We'll move through the building.
Yeah, we're gonna move through the building.
It should be
Get
a lot
to the
safer
building.
there, right?
Well, better than just stay here and be shot by him.
I always
Yeah.
just love how supposedly the safer route ends up being pretty dangerous in video games for some reason. It makes you wonder, geez, if this is the safer route, I'd hate to see the alternative.
Alright, let's go for the building. Basically, all I have to do is go through here and just kill him right here.
Surprise!
Surprise, motherfucker.
There we go. And now, be sure to
Oh no, you destroyed furniture.
be sure to use your chainsaw here because this guy will fucking jump out of you from nowhere. Basically. There you
You there? Everything okay? Shit, yeah, baby. We got the hook up. They giving us a big ass dinner.
Okay then.
Shit.
Yeah, it was kind of the same idea.
Tell Baird to shut up and eat. We'll be back soon. Copy that.
I love you
the,
too.
the horror of doing a sacrifice. I mean, I can imagine it's still not good food, but still.
Alright, so we'll continue trying to get to the gas station in the next part.
See ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.